What if I told you that the most attractive things you could do as a man have nothing to do with flowers, compliments, or grand romantic gestures? What if the real turn ons are psychological triggers that most women would never openly admit to wanting? Today, we're diving deep into the shadowy realm of female psychology, the things that activate primal attraction but live in the space between what's socially acceptable to say and what genuinely works. These aren't manipulative tactics, they're understanding patterns that have been hardwired into human psychology for millennia. I want to be clear up front. This isn't about being disrespectful or crossing boundaries. It's about understanding the psychological undercurrents that create genuine attraction. Some of these will make you uncomfortable. Some might challenge what you've been told about relationships. But if you're willing to look at the raw truth of human psychology, you'll understand why these 7 things create such powerful responses. Let's get into it. Thing number 1, being dangerously calm. The first thing women secretly want but will never ask for is a man who maintains unshakable calm in chaos, what I call dangerous calm. Here's what this looks like. Imagine a situation where most men would panic, get defensive, or become emotionally reactive. She's testing you with drama. There's a crisis. Someone's being confrontational. And you? You remain centered, almost eerily calm, with a slight smile that says, you're completely unfazed. This isn't about being emotionally unavailable or cold. It's about having such deep internal stability that external chaos doesn't penetrate your frame. When a woman tests you, and make no mistake, tests will come, and you remain unshaken, something primal activates in her psychology. Why does this work? Because it signals a specific type of strength that's become rare in modern men. It says you can handle anything life throws at you. It says you won't crumble under pressure. Most importantly, it says you're the type of man who can protect and lead when things get difficult. Women are attracted to men who can weather storms, both literal and metaphorical. Your ability to maintain composure when everyone else is losing theirs creates a magnetic pull. It's the difference between a man who is reactive to his environment and a man who shapes his environment. Think about the classic movie scenes that make women swoon. It's rarely the guy yelling or panicking. It's the one who takes a slow breath, assesses the situation with cool precision, and acts decisively. That's dangerous calm. But here's the twist. This calm can't be faked. It has to come from genuine internal security and emotional regulation. Women have incredible intuition for detecting whether your calm is real strength or just suppressed fear. Practice this in small ways. When she's upset, don't immediately try to fix it or match her emotional intensity. Take a breath. Slow down your movements. Lower your voice. Create a pocket of stability in the storm. You'll notice how quickly the dynamic shifts. Thing number 2, making her work for your attention. Number 2, making her earn your attention and validation, not freely giving it away. This might be the most counterintuitive item on this list because we're constantly told that women want constant attention, reassurance, and validation. And yes, women do want those things, but they want them from a man whose attention is actually valuable. Here's the psychological principle. We value what we work for. When something comes too easily, we subconsciously devalue it. This applies to everything from career achievements to relationships. When you're always available, always texting back immediately, always dropping everything to accommodate her schedule, you're communicating something, that your time isn't particularly valuable, that you don't have other important things going on, that she's your entire world. And paradoxically, this kills attraction. What women find intoxicating is a man who has a rich, full life that she gets to be part of, not a man whose life revolves entirely around her. When you have genuine priorities, your mission, your friends, your passions, and she has to fit into that framework rather than becoming the center of it, something shifts. She starts to wonder, what is he doing? Who is he with? Why isn't he texting me back? And this mental engagement is the breeding ground for attraction. I'm not talking about playing manipulative games or intentionally ignoring her to make her chase. I'm talking about actually having a life worth living that doesn't orbit around female validation. When your attention becomes a scarce resource rather than an infinite supply, its value skyrockets. In practice, this means don't always be available. Have plans that don't include her. Sometimes let messages sit for a few hours because you're genuinely engaged in something else. Show that while you enjoy her company, you're not desperate for it. Women are biologically wired to compete for high-value mates. When your attention is freely available to everyone, you're signaling low value. When it's selective and earned, you're signaling the opposite. The dark truth? Women often lose attraction to men who are too available, too eager, too accommodating. It's not fair, and it's not what sounds good in polite conversation, but it's a pattern repeated across millions of relationships. Playful dominance. Number 3 is playful dominance, the ability to lead, challenge, and occasionally push back in a way that's fun rather than controlling. Let me paint a picture. You're at dinner, and she says she wants the salmon. You say, "No, you're getting the steak tonight," with a smirk. She protests, but you insist, and when the food comes, she secretly loves that you made the decision. Or you're walking, and instead of asking where she wants to go, you take her hand and lead her in a specific direction with confidence. This drives at something fundamental in female psychology, the desire to be with a man who can take charge, who doesn't need her permission for every tiny decision, who has a clear direction. Now, let me be absolutely clear. This is not about being controlling, disrespecting her autonomy, or making major life decisions without her input. This is about the small moments where you demonstrate leadership in a playful, teasing way. The modern dating landscape has created a generation of men who are terrified of being decisive because they've been told it's toxic masculinity. So they defer every decision to her. What do you want to eat? Where do you want to go? What movie should we watch? And while this seems respectful on the surface, it creates a vacuum of leadership that kills sexual polarity. Women are attracted to masculine energy, and masculine energy at its core is about direction, decision-making, and taking ownership of outcomes. When you can do this with a playful edge, teasing her, challenging her, occasionally telling her no with a smile, you create tension and excitement. Here's an example. She's taking forever to get ready. Most guys would either wait passively or nag. Instead, you walk into the room, pick her up, throw her over your shoulder, and say, "Time's up, we're leaving." She'll protest and laugh, but notice how her energy changes. Or when she tests you by saying something bratty or challenging, instead of getting defensive or trying to logically argue, you smirk and say something like, "Oh, you're in a mood today," and continue doing exactly what you were going to do anyway. This playful dominance communicates, "I'm not intimidated by you. I can handle your energy. I'm leading this dance." The key word is playful. This should feel fun and flirtatious, not heavy-handed or serious. You're the oak tree that bends in the wind but doesn't uproot. You're unshakable but not rigid. Women test men to see if they can maintain their frame under pressure. Playful dominance is how you pass those tests while keeping things light and exciting. Number 4 is one of the most controversial: demonstrating controlled jealousy or possessiveness in the right doses. Let me explain carefully because this one walks a fine line. Overwhelming jealousy, insecurity, and controlling behavior are deeply unattractive and unhealthy. But a complete lack of jealousy signals that you don't really care, that she's not valuable to you, that you'd be fine if she disappeared tomorrow. There's a middle ground that women find incredibly attractive: controlled possessiveness. It's when another guy is clearly hitting on her, and you don't panic or get insecure, but you do step in with quiet confidence. You put your hand on the small of her back. You make it clear she's with you. Maybe you give the guy a look that says everything without words. Or when she mentions a male friend who's been texting her a lot, and instead of pretending you don't care or spiraling into insecurity, you simply say with a slight edge, "I don't like it," and leave it at that. This triggers something primal, the sense that you value her enough to protect what's yours, but you're secure enough not to lose your composure about it. The evolutionary psychology here is straightforward. Throughout human history, women needed men who would protect them and their offspring, who would guard the relationship against threats. A man who shows zero jealousy communicates that he doesn't view her as valuable enough to protect. But, and this is crucial, this only works when it comes from a place of abundance and security, not scarcity and insecurity. Controlled jealousy says, "You're mine, and I protect what's mine." Insecure jealousy says, "I'm terrified you'll leave me because I don't think I'm good enough." Women can instantly tell the difference in practice. If she's going out and dressing provocatively, instead of either throwing a fit or pretending you don't notice, you pull her close, kiss her neck, and whisper, "You look incredible. Remember who you're coming home to." That's controlled possessiveness, claiming her while maintaining frame. Or if she mentions going to dinner with a male colleague, you don't forbid it or sulk. You simply say, "Have fun. He better keep his hands to himself," with a confident smile. This is about marking your territory without being threatened by competition. It's one of the most misunderstood aspects of attraction, but countless women have admitted in private that they love when a man shows he's willing to fight for her. Not physically fight, but emotionally claim her as his. Thing number 5. Unpredictability and spontaneity. Number 5. Strategic unpredictability that keeps her guessing. Humans are pattern recognition machines. We quickly adapt to routine and predictability. And when something becomes completely predictable, it becomes boring. This is relationship death. Women are particularly attracted to men who maintain an element of mystery and unpredictability. Not chaos or inconsistency, but the sense that you're capable of surprising her, that she hasn't completely figured you out. Think about the beginning of relationships. Everything is exciting because everything is unknown. Where will he take me? What will he say? How will he respond? This uncertainty creates dopamine release, which we experience as excitement and attraction. As relationships progress, most men become completely predictable. Same routine, same responses, same everything. And women start to feel like they've solved the puzzle. There's nothing left to discover. The antidote is strategic unpredictability. Occasionally do something that breaks the pattern. Take her somewhere unexpected. Respond to a situation in a way she didn't anticipate. Show a side of yourself she hasn't seen. Maybe you're usually chill and easygoing, but one night you're intensely passionate about something. Or you're typically serious, but you suddenly do something playfully spontaneous. Or you've never been particularly romantic, and then you orchestrate something surprisingly thoughtful. This keeps her brain engaged. It prevents the relationship from falling into the predictability death spiral, where she knows exactly how every interaction will go. But here's the key. This unpredictability must be rooted in genuine depth of character, not manufactured games. You can't fake being interesting. You have to actually develop yourself as a multifaceted person with varied interests, moods, and capabilities. The most attractive men are those who can be both tender and fierce, both serious and playful, both reliable and spontaneous. They contain multitudes, and women never quite feel like they've completely figured them out. Thing number 6, pushing her boundaries. Number 6 is about gently but consistently pushing her out of her comfort zone, both psychologically and physically. Women are attracted to men who expand their world, who challenge them to grow, who don't just accept their limitations but push them to become more. This might look like encouraging her to try something that scares her a little, taking her rock climbing when she's nervous about heights, introducing her to experiences outside her normal routine, challenging her opinions in conversations, and making her defend her positions. But more subtly and powerfully, this is about pushing boundaries in intimacy and interaction. It's about not being afraid to escalate physically, to suggest something adventurous, to express desire in ways that might make her blush. Most men are so afraid of rejection or making women uncomfortable that they stay perpetually in the safe zone. They wait for explicit permission for everything. They never take risks. And while this seems respectful, it actually removes the sexual tension that makes relationships exciting. Women want to be with men who can read the room, sense when it's time to push forward, and have the confidence to lead the dance. Obviously, this requires calibration and respect for actual boundaries, but there's a massive difference between respecting boundaries and being so timid that you never create any tension. Think about it this way. When she's complaining about being bored or stuck in a rut, she's often subconsciously asking you to be the force that pulls her out of it. She wants you to be the adventure, the challenge, the growth catalyst. This applies emotionally too. Don't just validate everything she says and feels. Sometimes challenge her, make her think, disagree with her. Show her that you have your own frame and you're not just a mirror reflecting her opinions back at her. The psychological principle here is that people are attracted to those who help them become better versions of themselves. If you're just accommodating all her comfort zones and never pushing growth, you become a comfortable companion, but not a source of passion. One of the most common things you'll hear from women who've lost attraction is that their partner became too safe or too predictable. What they're often describing is a man who stopped pushing boundaries, who stopped creating growth, who became entirely comfortable and unthreatening. The edge of your comfort zone is where growth happens. It's also where attraction happens. Thing number 7, withholding emotional availability. The final and perhaps most controversial thing is strategic emotional unavailability, not being completely emotionally open all the time. Now, this directly contradicts modern relationship advice, which tells men to be vulnerable, open up, share all their feelings. And yes, emotional connection is important. But there's a dark truth that nobody talks about. When men become completely emotionally transparent and available, women often lose attraction. This is the paradox. Women say they want emotional openness, and on a conscious level, they do. But the subconscious attraction circuits respond differently. They're activated by a degree of mystery, depth, and emotional self-sufficiency. When you share every emotion, every insecurity, every doubt, you remove the mystery. You make yourself completely known. And as we discussed earlier, uncertainty and unknowability create attraction. Moreover, when a man is constantly seeking emotional validation from his partner, constantly needing reassurance, constantly processing his feelings out loud, it reverses the polarity. She becomes the emotional rock, and you become the emotionally needy one. This kills sexual attraction. What women find magnetic is a man who has emotional depth but doesn't need to constantly externalize it. A man who processes internally, who has his own emotional regulation system, who doesn't use his partner as his therapist. This doesn't mean being emotionally shut down or unavailable. It means being selective about vulnerability. It means having friends, mentors, or a therapist for processing the deep emotional stuff while maintaining a certain groundedness and strength in the relationship. Think about the men throughout history and in fiction that women find irresistibly attractive. They're often described as mysterious, deep, strong, and silent type. These men suggest emotional depth without putting it all on display. In practical terms, don't make her your only source of emotional support. Don't constantly seek her validation for your decisions. Don't process every anxious thought out loud with her. Maintain some interior world that's yours alone. When you do choose to be vulnerable, make it count. Let it be rare enough that it's valuable. Let it come from strength rather than neediness. The dark reality is that women are often more attracted to men they can't quite reach emotionally than men who are completely open books. There should always be deeper levels to you that she senses but hasn't fully accessed. This maintains the feeling that there's always more to discover, that you're not fully conquered, that the relationship has depth yet to be explored. Conclusion. So there you have it. 7 psychologically powerful things that women respond to, but rarely openly admit. Dangerous calm, making her work for your attention, playful dominance, controlled jealousy, strategic unpredictability, pushing her boundaries, and selective emotional availability. I know some of this contradicts what you've been told. I know it might make you uncomfortable, but the question is, do you want to know what sounds good in theory, or do you want to know what actually works in reality? Human psychology is messy, attraction isn't logical. The things that create genuine desire aren't always the things that sound politically correct or that we wish were true. The key to all of this is authenticity and calibration. These aren't tricks or manipulation tactics. They're understanding fundamental psychological patterns and aligning your behavior with what actually creates attraction rather than what sounds like it should. Use this knowledge ethically. Use it to create relationships with genuine passion and polarity. Use it to become the kind of man that naturally generates attraction rather than trying to convince someone to be attracted to you. The most important thing, work on yourself. Become genuinely valuable. Develop genuine confidence. Build a life worth living. When you do that, these behaviors flow naturally rather than being forced performances. And remember, the goal isn't to manipulate. It's to understand the game well enough to play it effectively while maintaining your integrity. Thanks for watching. If this challenged your thinking, leave a comment below. And if you want to dive deeper into the psychology of attraction, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, stay strong, stay authentic, and keep growing.